I'm Lisa March, president and founder of Partner in Publishing. Welcome to EdTech Elevated, a PIP-powered podcast where we'll be discussing the latest trends and groundbreaking ideas, as well as inspiring stories that are shaping the future of educational technology. Join us as we explore the EdTech landscape, dive deep into conversations that are transforming the face of education. Get ready to elevate your understanding of how technology is driving change in education, right here on EdTech Elevated. For today's episode, I'd like to introduce you to your host, Allison Langley, Marketing Strategy Manager at Partner in Publishing. Allison is an accomplished marketer with a wealth of knowledge and a knack for uncovering new ideas and driving meaningful discussions. With years of experience and a passion for marketing and building brands, Allison brings a unique perspective and an engaging style to all of our conversations. Without further ado, Allison, take it away.
Welcome to EdTech Elevated. I'm your guest host, Allison Langley, and today we have something truly inspiring for you. I'm here with Marsha Gordon and MJ O'Leary, the brilliant minds behind SHATTR, the game-changing membership network and immersive leadership experience designed to elevate women to VP roles and beyond. Marsha and MJ are deeply committed to fostering the growth and empowerment of leaders, guiding them to recognize their strengths, embrace their passions, and connect with opportunities to affect meaningful change in the world. Marsha, after earning a PhD in psychology and leadership development, spent 16 years in educational technology leadership roles. And MJ, prior to SHATTR, founded Wellness Multiplied, focusing on self-care as a foundation for long-term health. Her executive experience includes leadership roles at Wiley, Pearson Learning, and the Princeton Review. MJ holds a BA in psychology, a certification in finance from the University of Chicago, and a certified health and wellness coach. So I'm so excited to have MJ and Marsha on EdTech Elevated today. Thank you so much for being on the show. We have so much to talk about with SHATTR and your amazing experiences that you both have. So I think we'll just dive right in if that sounds
great.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So you've started SHATTR, you're entrepreneurs, and you work with entrepreneurs. So I would love if you could just tell me a bit about yourself and your experience and ultimately what led you to create SHATTR.
Sure. Well, thank you for having us. First of all, this will be a lot of fun. One thing that I have always known is that I've always been intrigued by what I kind of refer to as the science of people. What makes people different, what lights someone up, what causes someone to be motivated by something and not another person, how people learn, all that stuff is just super fun for me. And so much so that I ended up getting a PhD in psychology and leadership development.
Oh, so cool.
So I can kind of geek out on that kind of stuff after a while. And knowing that, and after a long, really fulfilling corporate career, I decided to do it more full time. And just jumped in. And I'm very fortunate years later to be a part of one of the country's largest female executive networks. And that is a lot of fun. And the one thing that I kept hearing over and over and over again from these women is this experience is amazing. But where is it for the women who work for me? Where is this for the next generation of executive women? And so once you hear something over and over again, you just start listening. And so I can't tell you the number of times I would hear it. And eventually I started thinking about it, getting really excited about it. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm up for a new adventure. Why not? Let's start it. And so I would get excited and I'm thinking, okay. And I called MJ and I'm like, MJ, what do you think? And she was so fun. She's like, that sounds awesome. I'm in. So that's kind of how I got into starting SHATTR and can't be more excited than starting it with MJ. So MJ, what was your story?
Well, when Marsha called me, the idea of SHATTR immediately resonated for two reasons. One is because it felt to me the culmination of all the work I'd done over the course of my career. It just felt like the bow tying it all together. And the second reason is that my experiences running global sales and marketing and HR teams was that there was a real need for this, that there was a gap in the support that we are providing for leaders in general, and especially women. And so Marsha and I talked about it. We had a couple conversations, and then it just felt like exactly what we should be doing at this time.
That's so cool. Did you know that you would start something together at some point before when you had crossed paths in your careers?
No, I don't think so.
No, but we've kept in touch over the years, very much so. We even took a trip to Africa together, which was super fun, and we just stayed in touch. And there was just no one better to start it with than MJ. And I think we complement each other so much when it comes to this.
Right. That's so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you found each other to do this and help other women. That's so cool. I know you kind of described SHATTR a little bit, but if you could give a little bit more detail about your programs and ethos and everything that you can think of that encompasses SHATTR, I would love to hear about.
Yeah, well, SHATTR is an immersive leadership experience for women who are wanting to lead at that executive level. So it's really high impact women who have a lot of potential, who really can't necessarily figure out what the next step is or really want to be very proactive in figuring out how to make that journey happen. It's a community space as well. And so we can certainly talk about how it's structured, but I would say in general, it's, again, this immersive leadership experience where women learn more about who they are and what they really want to do. We talk a lot about get clear, get free, get going. So we want women to get really crystal clear about who they are and what they want, what their values are, really what they want as a woman, right? And then to be able to get free of those things that may be holding them back. So that they can then get going and figure out what the step is what the steps are to be able to reach the level that they want. So in general, that's what the program is. We talk a lot about the community that surrounds SHATTR, and that's so important. And to me, that community is a lot about connections, right? It's connecting with other like-minded, amazing women. It's connecting with a coach who helps them along the way. It is connecting them with the resources that they need. And whether that be C-suite women that come back to be able to talk and to share with them, or whether that just be other resources that they need, we will provide that within the community space.
If you think about it, we blend leadership development with personal growth, and it's grounded in well-being. And I think one of the things that distinguishes the SHATTR experience is this notion that you should thrive on the journey. And for so long, so many women sort of hit the pinnacle of their career, but were burnt out and tired and frustrated. And so we really emphasize self-care and health and the importance of well-being on the journey. And we lift each other up and we celebrate and we create what has been for our members a really joyful experience, which I think is super important. But because we're looking at this holistically and looking at the journey to senior and executive leadership holistically, that the community is really important in that, having friends that you can talk to, people that can celebrate with you, can talk through if you're having a challenge or a problem. I mean, all of that is part of our experience. So women, when they come to SHATTR, they're assigned a cohort with their executive coach, and they stay with that cohort for the whole year. So they meet monthly over the course of the year, and they're communicating on our online platform in between their sessions. But they also have access, as Marsha was saying, to all the other women in the other cohorts. So if you're traveling to Chicago and you want to know a great place to take somebody to dinner, or you want to meet up with SHATTR people who are in Chicago, all of that is available to them. There'll be affinity groups as we grow. We'll add more and more things like affinity groups and such. But it is that community experience along with the coaching and the skills development that I think is a really unique interplay that we offer women who are aspiring to senior leadership.
That's fantastic. There's 2 points that come up. One, I want to talk a little bit about your app, because I think that's a great piece, that people have access to in this community. But then also along the lines of the community, Marsha and I were talking about Outside. And I loved what you were saying about that. So if we touch on those 2 things in whatever order you want to go about it.
So I'll talk a bit about Outside first, and then Marsha can pick up on the app. When we curate our cohorts, we intentionally put together diverse groups of women. So we're looking at different functional areas, different industries, different backgrounds, because we think that a really important part of the leadership journey is developing outside. So most people have heard of insight, right? Like listening to your wise inner voice. As senior leaders, you are bombarded with so much information. There is so much that is coming at you at any given moment. And to make really sound decisions, you need to be able to filter that information. And so part of it is listening, getting quiet and listening to your own insight. But part of it is applying outside. And that comes from having been exposed to different models, different perspectives, different way of thinking about things. And so we think that's one of the benefits of the cohorts as we create them, because there's such diversity. They're exposed to a lot of different models and perspectives. And so if you have, we have a couple companies that send us several women right now, and we spread them out over different cohorts so that you're not in a cohort with somebody from your same company. Right. So we really appreciate the diversity of the cohorts and what that means. And if you look at there's some research mostly done in the pharmaceutical industry about outside, and it showed that the leaders that focused on their teams, their product lines, their deliverables almost exclusively, compared to the leaders that were out creating a large network, getting involved with different organizations that weren't necessarily in their space, the ones that were connected broadly beyond their own organization had far greater productivity than the ones that just sort of hunkered down and kept focused on their job, their people, their teams. So we believe in outside, and it's part of the way we curate our cohorts.
It makes so much sense. It's like, and we'll get into it more, but it's like diversity, right? Having different people and different opinions coming into the mix. It makes everybody better and a little bit stronger, but
absolutely.
I absolutely love that.
Absolutely. And that's why we champion diversity at the top of organizations, because we know it makes a difference.
Boost your company's digital presence with Partner in Publishing. We leverage proven strategies to expand your reach and increase sales. Whether you're a startup or an established business, we tailor our digital marketing strategies to meet your specific needs. From search engine optimization and high conversion digital ads to organic social media and targeted email marketing, we employ essential marketing strategies to achieve your mission and deliver impactful results. Partner with us to meet and exceed your sales and marketing goals and stand out in the education sector. Learn more at partnerinpublishing.com.
Now, the app that brings it all together. I want to hear just a little bit.
It does bring out the SHATTR app. It's really exciting. Yes. And women get on there a lot just to be able to connect, because we talk a lot about finding your people. As we mentioned before, it's really important that women feel connected. We go faster, further together. And the whole premise of SHATTR is to build these really safe, confidential spaces where women can bring all of who they are to the table. And they are celebrated. They're not judged. They're celebrated. And so if we can do that on the go, how much better is that? So fun. And so the idea is that, once again, if you go to New York and you want to have dinner with someone, you find that person and say, hey, I'm coming. And we have lots of meetups, lots of things, lots of events. We do wellness retreats. We do all kinds of things like that. And so for women to feel connected on the spot is really important to them and important to us.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we'll get more into the wellness thing. And I need an invite to a wellness retreat.
Okay, absolutely.
It's yours. You've got it.
You're now at the top of our list.
Yes.
Whenever that happens. We had talked about, we had already touched on this a little bit, but you had said that your clients and customers were saying, where is this for people that work for me? I want this for them. So what gaps do you feel with that? And the fact that you started listening to people about what they wanted, are you addressing in the market right now?
So first, that it's tailored for women. There are a lot of great leadership programs that people can avail themselves to. This is specifically designed for women that are mid-career. Sort of. So the folks that Marsha was talking about are already senior level C-suite women, right? They've made the journey. They've gotten to the top. we're starting with women earlier in their careers and giving them the resources that can really make a difference, can really boost their success and help them travel, as Marsha said earlier, further, faster. So it's tailored for women and the unique experiences and challenges that women have in the workforce. We focus on the skills development. This is much more than a network or a membership.
Mm-hmm.
We anchor each of the sessions with the executive coaches in executive skills that they need to be prepared and have and be confident in to step into senior leadership roles. We're very focused on the community aspect. We've talked about that. So I'll just highlight that we think that that is an important differentiator, how we create community for all of the women that are members of SHATTR. And the wellbeing thread, which we talked a little bit about, that is a thread that runs through our entire program. And it's not about getting more women to the top at all costs, because unfortunately, many women did get to the top at the sacrifice of their own well-being or their personal lives. This is about equipping women, supporting women so that they thrive on the leadership journey.
That's great. Yeah, because you see all these really big leadership programs, and even for like someone like me, it feels like unattainable because it's so big. But SHATTR makes it feel inclusive.
Yes.
Right. And it's so nice. So you talked about skill development. Can you just talk a little bit more about the work specifically that you do with skill development, and are there like specific skills that you focus on that you think women within SHATTR would really benefit from?
I think part of it is that in a much bigger picture, it's that we help women see what's possible, right? Just like you said, it seems unattainable, but is it unattainable? For many of these women, they have what it takes. They just need to be able to step into that power a little bit more. And again, to be super clear on what they want and who they are. And then to top off that skill development, again, we talk about a different topic or category of skills through each session. And then there are all kinds of resources that are built around each of those. Do you want to speak to some of those skills that we work on? Yeah,
and they're all connected to our framework of get clear, get free, get going. So get clear on who you are and the leader you are. All the things that have contributed to how you show up today as a person and a leader. So that's about awareness building, and it's about confidence building, and it's about understanding your strengths and how you can and should and must actually utilize them in the workplace. And so then after the get free, we have get clear, we have get free, which is all about sometimes there are systemic things that hold women back. And it can vary by corporation. There are all sorts of things in play that make it a little bit more difficult for women, or have historically. But there are also ways that we hold ourselves back. And so we look at some of the ways that we might be holding ourselves back. It's like, what is our internal narrative? What are our own doubts? What are our saboteurs? We talk about the mind monsters, the things that show up that we can understand and use as a motivator to move us to the next level. And then get going is where we really anchor those sessions with the executive skill set. So it's communicating effectively, persuasion, influence, building your network, how to build trust, how to share your vision, things like that.
Oh, that's great. So when somebody is joining the SHATTR community, and we've spoken about the network, but I'm curious about, do they do a skill assessment? Like, what does it look like for somebody who's joining SHATTR and their first day and their first interaction with everybody?
Remember, I kind of geek out on that stuff, right? On that leadership stuff. So we do assessments along the way. Again, we really want this to be firmly based in the science behind it, as well as the very practical application. So I think we do a really good job at balancing those two. And if you recall, SHATTR on our website, we talk a lot about shattering glass ceilings for aspiring executive women. And then we always kind of model that by saying, because a lot of times those ceilings that need to be shattered are our own, right? They're the things that we do that hold us back. They're the thoughts that we have. You talk a lot about that idea of imposter syndrome versus imposter thoughts, those kinds of angles that we take as well.
Yeah, that's a great example of how we help women become aware of what's happening in the mind monsters inside their head, and how to flip that script, how to rewrite it, right? So I actually love talking about imposter syndrome because it has even the two women that originally wrote the first research article on it say, I wish it wasn't called syndrome. I really wish we wouldn't call it syndrome. It's not quite that. What turns out, so if you think about what people are as they hear the word imposter syndrome, they think about this feeling, this pervasive feeling like I'm a fraud and I'm going to be found out any moment. It's only a matter of seconds, right?
Yeah.
That's what they think. But it turns out, if you really look at it, there's a woman named Basima Tufik at MIT who has done some great research on this. And she said it's really imposter thoughts. That these are thoughts that we have. They might come up a couple times a day, a few times a week, but they come and they go. It's not a pervasive syndrome for almost everybody. It's thoughts. And her research shows that if you look at people who are having imposter thoughts, they actually turn out to be really motivating forces, because you're thinking, somebody believed in me to put me in this role or give me the stretch position, whatever it is. And I need to meet expectations. So the imposter thoughts end up turning into a motivating force. And what she talks about is the growth mindset. And the growth mindset is not, I'm a fraud, I'm going to be found out any moment. It is, okay, there's a bit of a gap here and I'm going to meet it. And so it turns out to be this really sort of energizing force. I love her work, and I love reframing imposter thoughts from imposter syndrome, because it turns out it's not really a syndrome.
The syndrome just makes it feel like it's such a problem.
It makes it seem like something's wrong.
Or something to be ashamed of. Or,
right.
Right. Or you need meds for it or something, right? And it also turns out that men have imposter thoughts as well, right? So women tend to have more of them because women tend to be, this is a broad brush statement, not true of every woman, but women tend to be more perfectionist. They tend to over-prepare. They tend to hold back from speaking their thoughts and opinions if they're not sure how it's going to land, or they're not sure that what they want to share is going to be the right thing to share. And so because of that, imposter thoughts show up more frequently with women, but men have them as well.
Yeah. And you definitely notice kind of the difference when you're working with men, or even when I just like talk to my husband about it. He's like, well, why aren't you just doing the thing? And it's like,
right.
Like, why don't you just do it? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. No, but that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing all that. That was great. Those are some great nuggets.
And this also speaks to confidence, right? We're doing a book club in the community space with the book, The Confidence Code.
Oh, that's so
cool. It's a great book about.
Is the book club that you're doing, is that just within within certain cohorts, or is that
any woman who's a SHATTR member in any cohort
cool.
can join this book? And so that's a great example of how women from different cohorts can also come together.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So we do book clubs and such. So we're doing one on the Confidence Code, and the research does show that men have more confidence when it comes to their abilities than women, and just sort of creating awareness around that can make a really big difference for women. So there's the famous Hewlett-Packard study where Hewlett-Packard was trying to figure out why they were not getting more women applying for these leadership roles. And so when they dug into the data, they found that if the same one job, a male and a female, if they both met 60% of if the criteria for the position, the men would apply and say, this job has me written all over it. And the women would hold back because they looked at what the boxes that they weren't checking. Yeah. And, we see this show up in the workplace all the time. I can't tell you the number of women who I have sponsored and mentored who I really had to encourage to go for a promotion. I said, this is a great job for you. This is a great opportunity. And they're like, oh, but I don't this or I don't that. And I really, over the course of my career, really nudged, forcefully nudged sometimes women to just go for it. But we're wired a little bit differently when it comes to confidence, and just having the awareness of that can make a big difference.
It's like a completely different shift in mindset that needs to happen. Yeah. That's
Yeah. And once women come together, they realize that's normal, right? They realize what the issue is so that they can then tackle it together.
Yeah.
And I always laugh and say that MJ and I celebrate everything. Like the little tiny things, the big things, we're celebrating, right?
We're like,
celebrating.
Today we.
Yes. The small things, the big things. And so it's really fun to get into a group of women who trust each other,
right? Yeah.
Who are totally comfortable sharing whatever they're thinking, and to be able to celebrate all those small wins, those big wins, celebrate. That's what a lot of we do a lot of that in SHATTR, right? And there's something really special about having a group of women that will stand behind you and celebrate you as you make that move towards whatever it is that you want.
Yeah. Being with other women, being with other women is great.
It is, isn't it?
It just is.
I know.
Well, and it's really important for our health too. As it turns out,
talk a little bit about that.
Social health is as important as physical, emotional, mental health. And especially for women, that's the work out of Stanford shows that for women to have a group of people that support them, that they can lean on, that they can talk to, makes an enormous difference in their overall health and even longevity. So it's, for us, it's a must. And, I've had a lot of friends who got so busy with their career and trying to bring career and family and stay on top of it, that they weren't able to stay connected to their friendships and relationships over the years, or create a group of women that could be a professional network for them. And most of them, getting now toward end of career, will all say that they really regret that. There is a lift we get that impacts our health in a very real way when we spend time with other women.
Yeah, it's almost, it's regenerizing. If that's, it feels,
without a doubt.
That's my friends and I always joke around that whenever we're together, we're powering up. We just need like a quick power up, and then we can disperse, and then we'll come back together and we just zoom.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it's like to have this community of women that are like-minded, who have the same kind of goals and really want to power up together.
I love that name for an event or a retreat.
There you go.
There, we're taking it.
There we go.
It's great. I love it.
There we go.
You can have it. So we've been talking a lot about the community and other women's experiences, and how, your clients are working within SHATTR. How do you think you would have benefited if you had SHATTR at the start of your career, or midway through, rather?
MJ has some really great stories about your career and the people who came along.
Yeah, my community. I mean, so an executive coach would have been amazing for me. I never had one. And what's interesting about that is because I did sit in the C-suite. I worked really hard. I championed to get a lot more money in our budget for coaches because they make a huge difference. And professional development in general, but specifically coaches. And my goal was to try and get people that were not already C-suite or reporting to C-suite coaches, because normally that's who was getting them, and or the people who were talented and the company wanted to keep the talent, but they were kind of challenged as a people manager. So those people got coaches as well. And, here I am trying to figure out how we're going to match the coaching budget to the individuals that we were developing. And never once did I think, well, I'm going to take a coach, right?
Right.
And this is a very woman thing to do. It didn't cross my mind to give myself a coach when I was sitting there with the coach's budget, even then. So in the course of my career, I never had one. I did have some amazing, amazing mentors. And that was really important to my journey. I had a boss at one point, early days, who I worked for at one of the Pearson divisions, and she became president of another Pearson division. And she asked me to come be her vice president, national sales manager. And this was a real stretch role. I was 31 years old and had 250 reps in my group. It was a huge stretch role for me. And she had confidence in me, and she had a lot more confidence in me than I had in myself. And so in the role, I was able to learn and grow from her. So while I didn't have an executive coach, she had a lasting impact on my career, and I'm grateful for that. The community piece, I somehow just organically always knew intuitively that was really important. And so my first company after graduation was a great company that hired really fun, intelligent, hardworking people. And we had a blast while we worked. And I made some of my best friends for life at that company. And they have been with me on every step of this journey. So the really tough days at work, I had one that we would talk to 2 or 3 times a week driving home from our respective commutes. And I would say, can I throw this at you? Like, what do you think about this? And part of it's vent, part of it's sounding board, but part of it is also having somebody that you know is going to be honest and hold the mirror up too. Well, what might your role have been in? So I think those communities are really important. I also started a professional women's group in my town that has now been thriving for 20 years.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it's because women do benefit. They power up. Yeah. I love that. When they come together, support each other. And it's, sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I forgot this, and my kid didn't have this for the concert, and he was the only one not in black pants or whatever it is, right? It's just knowing that we all go through this and we're all human and we're all doing the best that we can do. So I would have loved an executive coach. I also think the whole focus on thriving, not surviving would have helped me immensely. So I have, I've for a long time prioritized my personal health. And it can get challenging when you're in the trenches and you have so much going on. And if you're a working mom and you have young kids, it can get really, really challenging. And so practical ways to stay healthy and to manage stress during really tough and chaotic times would have been helpful. And these are the kinds of things we're trying to bring into SHATTR, like practical tips, wellness events and retreats, but also practical tips. We have a Wellness Wednesday hack that we post every Wednesday in the community space. And it's just supposed to be a really simple idea that you can implement right away that will boost your health and well-being. So I think that would have helped me.
Yeah. That's amazing. What about you, Marsha?
Oh, I think anytime women can have their advocates, they're better.
Yeah.
And we all know areas in our life when we've just been able to really confide in someone and share with them what we were really feeling, not what we feel like we were expected to feel or think. That's empowering. And so as women can come together in any situation, that's a wonderful thing. We have spent so much time with executive women, interviewing them, talking with them, asking them what skill sets, what is important to that they see in women who are coming up the ladder, so to say. And this always comes up for them. We need well-rounded women who are connected, who are confident, and who can be self-aware. And I think that's what MJ's speaking to, as well as what SHATTR focuses on a lot.
How would you recommend somebody who's in this position of, man, I really need a coach, or I need more of a mentor, I need more of a something? How do you recommend that they speak to their leadership and saying, I need this, or my team needs this? Do you help counsel with that?
We do. And I think that's one of the big things that we need to realize and consider, is that coaching is incredibly important. We have very highly certified coaches who have gone through the International Coaching Federation. They are they're amazingly credentialed and professional. They work with executives every day, all day. And then they come and help us with SHATTR as well. So that's amazing. Coaching is just a small piece, really, of what SHATTR is. It is that integration of executive coaching, skill building, community, resources. It's all of that tied together. And we think that's the magic sauce, the special sauce for what happens at SHATTR. And it's a living, breathing kind of community, and the energy comes from the members themselves. And so with that said, it's a complex thing to be able to identify and be able to share, but all of it has come from what executive women have said that would have been helpful to them at this point in their career.
Right. No, that's fantastic. So how do you see SHATTR growing up, and what are some big goals you have, and what do you see in the future?
Yeah. We are on a mission. We say that all the time. It's not just a job or a role or a project. It's a mission. And we want all women who aspire to be at that level to have that chance to learn more about who they are, to learn the skills that it takes, and to be able to make that move and have the support that they want. In general, we will always be advancing the technology, advancing the platforms that we use to allow connections to come more freely and for them to be effortless and seamless. So as far as just growing the network, which is ultimately the goal, to give you access to more C-suite people and the whole bit, it's a really energizing thing, but we'll just keep expanding that, keep investing in that.
And at the same time, making sure the experience is phenomenal. Right. So, any new startup company, wherever you are in the trajectory of your company's sort of maturity, growth is part of one of the measures that you take. One of our most important measures is, what is the experience, and is it having an impact in their personal and professional life?
So when we're talking about the differences between men and women, even just like imposter syndrome and confidence, but there still is a disparity between the amount of men in executive positions versus women. What types of steps can organizations take to use a SHATTR for women in leadership? How can they create a more inclusive environment? Like what can organizations do? What are some really first steps that they can do to just make a better environment and have, women soar to the top and make it more equal?
Well, it starts with being really serious about it, right? This is not like we have a program for, you really have to mean it. And that does come from leadership at the top. I mean, having worked in an organization where I was responsible for developing future talent and with an emphasis on leaders, you really need everybody to believe that this is important. If you look at the data, you can't deny it. Diverse, I said earlier that diverse leadership teams perform better. They outperform on every metric. So it's better for the employees, it's better for the company, it's better for the stakeholders. Why is it so hard to, if you look at the numbers, there's plenty of women represented in the entry-level positions. And then, as we know, we get the triangle at the top. There are challenges that are unique for women that I think organizations need to be aware of. I mean, if you look at what happened during the pandemic, that really had an impact on the workforce, of course. However, companies realized that more people can actually be very productive working from home. I mean, I spent a big part of my career as a sales manager. All of the people that were part of my team worked from their home. So I was used to this. I had no problem people working from their home. I trusted people to do their job. But there's a lot of people in leadership that didn't have that trust, that really needed people to clock in. Flexible work arrangements are really important, and especially for women. They make a big difference. And because of what happened during the pandemic, with women coming out of the workforce in droves, caring for children and elderly parents, the World Health Organization, might be the World Economic Forum, said that we were originally looking at 99 years to close the gender gap, and now it is 135. So that made a really big difference. We want women back in the workforce. We need to make it easier for them to stay in the workforce. So looking at flexible work schedules, frankly, looking at childcare. And what companies might be able to do to help with that. It is hard to find great childcare. It's expensive. And it's important for companies to think about what they could do there. understanding that women lead in different ways. So some of the qualities that are inherent to female leaders are empathy, inclusion, collaboration, and these have not always been the leadership traits that have been highlighted, even in the leadership training programs and companies offer. These are important leadership traits and can really add a lot to the richness of a leadership team. And so understanding that women have different leadership styles that can be different and letting them lead authentically is important. And, I think that women will hold themselves back a little bit more. They'll think more about what they're about to say and contribute in a meeting, and recognizing that. So pulling the diversity of opinion into discussions is actually a really important thing that men specifically can do.
Right.
Adam Grant out of Wharton calls it the blabber effect. And it is the person in the room that takes the most amount of air, talks the most. And often those are the people that get promoted. And he will tell you that his research says that those are the last people we should promote, because you want somebody that's going to make sure that all voices are heard and encourage people to speak up. And so that means probably encouraging women to join in the conversation beyond what they might be comfortable with. But you're going to hear some great ideas and you're going to have a richer discussion. And so you're increasing and elevating the intelligence of the entire room, not listening to the one person who's commanding the airtime.
Right.
And so being aware of things like that happen, and helping women not be spoken over in a meeting, which I can't think of a single woman that's been in the corporate workforce that has not been talked over.
Yeah.
Not one. And so understanding that that's a dynamic and managing that, if you're facilitating the meeting or it's your team, can make a big difference. There are practical things and big important things that company knows, like make sure there's pay equity and all of that. Companies know that.
Are you ready to elevate your brand and captivate your audience? At Partner in Publishing, our video marketing services are all about turning your ideas into captivating visual narratives. Whether it's a compelling promotional video, engaging social media content, or informative tutorials, we've got you covered. Our expert team works closely with you to create videos that not only look amazing, but also drive results. Don't just be seen, be remembered. Visit partnerinpublishing.com today and discover how we can help you outshine the competition.
What are the different leadership styles between men and women? And not necessarily like a negative thing too, right? But what do we typically see? Other, obviously we're talking about confidence and things like that. But if you have a really confident woman leader, what are the differences that we're seeing?
If you have a really confident female leader, she's showing up as her true self. She is authentic, and she's probably a bit more nurturing.
Okay, yeah.
Probably is caring a bit more about employee feelings. Very collaborative, wanting all the voices to be heard, wanting people to have an input before making a decision. Important that people understand why we're doing what we're doing, that there's purpose there. So some of the more nurturing qualities.
Yeah.
And it turns out, Simon Sinek will tell you, like, these are the exact qualities that companies need today. This is what companies need. And so it's, again, that's a broad brush statement. There are men that have those qualities in spades too.
Right.
But generally speaking, if you look at the gender differences, those are qualities that women bring to the table.
Yeah.
And we know there's a pipeline issue. We know that some companies are having trouble getting women all the way to the top. And so if they can, you were asking earlier about how can they help? How can they be a part of the solution? Is to realize that and to be able to sponsor women along the way. And so a lot of corporations, a lot of companies have been able to say, you know what, I believe in the pipeline. I need the pipeline to work. I need more women at the top. And so I'm going to sponsor them for SHATTR.
Yeah.
Doing something like that just really gives them this holistic idea about what effective leadership is.
Yeah, that's great. And you were talking about how women need more flexible schedules. And we've been talking a lot about wellness and the well leader. So MJ, can you talk more about Well, one, I could have a separate podcast with you about your wellness journey, and it's very fascinating. But can you talk about your wellness journey and how you? I mean, we've already talked a little bit about how you've incorporated it, but maybe a little bit more about like what your wellness retreats are about, or just any more snippets about how you incorporate that into the SHATTR platform.
Sure. There were a couple of different questions in there.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, my wellness journey started as far back as I can remember. I think I was 10. And I was reading an article in the newspaper about breast cancer, which was not that common then. This is in the early 70s, right? So it wasn't that common, but I was really struck by this. I'm like, this is a horrible thing. And that's when my awareness started. There's such a thing called cancer, breast cancer. Am I going to get it someday? And so I gathered my two younger sisters. I was 10, they were 7 and 5, and a couple of women in the neighborhood who were 8 and 9. And we put on a carnival to raise money for breast cancer research. And I remember my parents driving me to the store so I could ask the store owners if they would donate prizes for our carnival.
I didn't know this about you. This is fascinating. Keep going.
And that year, I'm actually it's one of my proudest achievements. We raised $100 for breast cancer research. You know, me and my little
Celebrate
We celebrate again. Cheers. We need wine in these.
So that was the beginning of my journey. And then ironically and unfortunately, sadly, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer when she was quite young and passed away. And then my father was diagnosed with ALS. And also that was, a really challenging struggle through working with him, because the neurologist basically said there's nothing you could do. That doesn't land well with me.
No.
So we went and looked for naturopaths, homeopathic. We actually met with Deepak Chopra before he became who he is today. He was a practicing Ayurvedic physician.
Wow.
But that led me into the world of holistic medicine and alternative choices, which is still a really, core part of who I am today, is holistic healing and wellness. So that was a part of me, an important part of me, watching what my parents went through with really no part of their treatment involved nutrition or wellness. And that sort of stuck with me. And so I always prioritized my health. And fast forward many years later, I'm head of global HR at a global EdTech company. And we're going through a really challenging period in the company's history, moving everything from print to digital, acquisitions, re-engineering, everything. It was an incredibly challenging time and very, very difficult on the company. I was traveling all over the world and burning the candle at both ends. And my body was telling me, you need to take care of me. But I was too busy for that. And then my body finally screamed at me, and I had to stop and look at what I was doing. And as I looked across the organization, there was so much burnout and there was so much stress and there were so many people dealing with physical issues. And I thought to myself, if it was hard for me to stop and figure out how to put myself back on the front burner, how hard must it have been for people who didn't have that foundational sort of expectation of my priority is my health. And it took me a little bit to get back on track. And so then I went to nutrition school. I became certified as integrative health and wellness coach. And I coach mostly female executives. That's who's drawn to my practice. I also do workshops and seminars. I have over the years for organizations in the wellness, so I bring wellness into organizations. I'm passionate about individual and organizational health. And I think that there is so much we can do to help companies really hit on all strides. And a lot of it has to do with the well-being of their employees. So where am I going with this? That has always been really important to me. When Marsha and I started talking about SHATTR, I said, this is the work that I have been doing. It makes a difference. It makes a difference in people's lives and in their families' lives and in their companies. And I think it is an essential component of a leader who thrives is to be really well and to have learned how to have harmony between their personal and professional lives. I don't like the word balanced. Because if you think about it, if you think about a seesaw, when it's balanced, you have to be really standing right in the middle, continuing to move, working really, really hard to keep it balanced,
harder.
right?
And it's not
always
going anywhere.
It's always
It's not going
tipping
anywhere.
one
Yeah.
way or the
Yeah.
other, right? But it's always going to go with this way or other. So for me, it's more about harmony and how to have harmony with your personal and your professional life. So that's my wellness journey. And that's why when Marsha and I started talking about it, she goes, yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it does really resonate with people that this is a core part of our SHATTR experience. We want leaders that thrive.
Yeah.
And you had asked about retreats, just the place, have a safe, fun place for women to come, do yoga, experience what leadership, authentic leadership really is, to be able to talk through that, learn more about wellness, just to have a really special few days away with your people.
Sounds amazing.
How fun is that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've enjoyed that part of SHATTR.
And because SHATTR's an online community, it's an opportunity for people to meet face to face. Like Marsha and I are here today together.
Yeah.
But every day, for the most part, we're
on
Zooming,
Zoom.
right?
Yes.
So it's just so nice when you get the real hug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I watched it when you guys saw each other. It was cute.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Yeah. Can't beat a real hug.
No. And in person, it's always so great. It really is. But it's also great when you have outlets like your app and things like that, where you can connect with people whenever you need to.
Absolutely.
That's just
all of the
world
above.
is. Yeah. It's really the best. So we've talked about so
much,
so many great things. And I would love to ask each of you if you have experienced or somebody has come to you and it's just been like an aha moment where you're almost in tears that you've helped somebody so much through your program. If there's one person in mind, obviously.
I think there are so many more than one. I don't even know how to put it all together, but I think it's those aha moments that happen all the way through that are so incredibly important. We've had people say, I have never in my entire professional career had such a meaningful moment with other women.
That's amazing.
And those kinds of things are really important. Another woman comes through and says, I've never had as much courage and confidence as I have now. And they're just propped up and they're built up. And often we as women don't get that. Yeah. We just don't get it. So I think those aha moments happen so many times. We have women who are younger in their career. We have women who have been in their career for a while. We have the whole span. And I think all of them are coming out of it going, I never knew that about myself. I never got a grip on how that was special and how that was important and how I fit into the bigger space. And to me, that makes it worth everything. We have the best role, the best job.
I know.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
The best ever.
True.
See, we celebrate so much, but why not? Life is way too short to not celebrate.
Yeah.
And
that's amazing.
Women are better when we're together.
Yeah. It's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. MJ, what about you?
Boy, that was really well said. I'm not sure that I have. And truly, women are better when we're together, and we truly do lift each other up. And I think that's what we hear from the members. Mm-hmm. They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel supported, and they feel celebrated.
That's amazing.
And they love coming together. I mean, I similar to what I shared earlier about some of my best friends in the world are people I met in my first job. I was just very lucky to have connected with these women who have always been by my side and I've been by theirs. Our SHATTR members form these bonds in their cohort.
Incredibly strong.
That are unbreakable, right? And so now they have within the cohort, over the course of the 12 months of the cohort, they work with each other and have each other's backs and celebrate things together. But then they'll stay connected for years and years and years. These will be the people that they can always go to for the advice and the problem solving.
And they do, because these cohort members get to know each other so profoundly.
Right.
That sometimes they know each other better than they do with their friends or better than they do with their roommates or whoever it is. And that's just incredibly encouraging.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like a new
to
level.
See those. It's a whole different level.
Yeah.
So exciting to see.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on EdTech Elevated.
Thank you.
This has been just a fantastic conversation. I've absolutely loved talking to you both and hope to continue talking to you long after the podcast.
Let's go shatter those ceilings.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of EdTech Elevated, powered by Partner in Publishing. We hope you found today's episode inspiring and informative. Don't forget to subscribe and stay connected for more insightful conversations with EdTech leaders and innovators. Until next time, follow us on social to keep up with the latest trends in the world of EdTech. I'm Lisa March, and this is EdTech Elevated.